What's up, everybody? I think I am live. All right, we are live. So, update on at GF at the junkyard the other day. These are the other parts I got, guys. Check these out. These are Bilstein shocks, guys. Right here. What does that look right there? Bilstein. There's the part numbers. Made in Germany. So basically, these struts were on that green 96 hatchback. And I went back to the, and here, let me back it up a second here. Okay, back it up. So basically what happened was, I did a live stream last week and I didn't have one of the tools I needed to get those sway bars off. So if you guys recall, for those of you guys who didn't see the live stream last week, I was at a junkyard in Sacramento and there was a 96 GF wagon that just came into the junkyard like that day. I was like the first guy on that wagon. And I was looking over the wagon, and lo and behold, the sway bars are really fat and thick. And I showed you guys, and a bunch of people commented, and it looks like those are early white line sway bars. And I was going to take those sway bars. I planned on taking them. I mentioned the live stream that I was going to take them, but I was missing basically the socket size I needed and a breaker bar. So I could have actually probably taken some of the components in the sway bars, but I ended up leaving them and coming back the next morning. Came back first thing next morning, and lo and behold, the sway bars are gone. But the guys didn't take the end links, they didn't take the brackets, because those are the things that were actually hard to get. And so he took the sway bars. I've been taking those end links or sway bars, the guy or girl. And that's okay. I was kind of bummed at first, and I basically kind of walked away, was looking around the junkyard, and then went back and kind of looked the car a little closer and looked it over. And I basically wiped the shock tower, the strut over, and I looked at it, and I noticed it said like made in Germany. I was like, wait, what the fuck, made in Germany? These aren't some reproduction KYBs, because the KYB has like a silver, what is it? The XLG strut is like basically a silver color, but these said made in Germany. It was definitely not some cheap China shocks or some KYBs. So I basically rubbed them down a little further, and I saw, sure enough, that's what I saw right here on these things. These shocks, the Bilstein, and they're made in Germany. So that's what these were. These are Bilstein struts on that 96 GF. And so I pulled those Bilstein struts off, and incidentally, guys, these struts are really, really expensive struts. They're not easy to come by, and I've disassembled them all. I basically have my little strut machine right here that I'm doing a little video on. It's kind of a little preview of it. Basically how this thing works is I hook up the air compressor right here to this side, and the air compressor compresses the top where I can compress the spring just slightly and then remove the nut that holds the top hat on. And then you can disassemble the assembly and then remove the pressure pneumatically, and that will actually allow you to disassemble your strut. So look out for video on that coming up in the next week or so. Anyways, back to these struts. So basically I got these struts and I missed out on the sway bars, and that's okay because actually the struts are a lot rarer part and harder to find. And I'm going to be using these struts, these Bilstein struts, with the RS coils I got. So if you guys remember on that day, I also talked about picking up a set of struts from that 2000 RS. And that's what these coils are. So basically I'm going to mix and match. I got those Bilstein struts, and I have basically I have the coils that came with the GF, the 96 GF wagon. Those are probably going to be a little bit stiffer and a little bit more stiff than I would want for this coupe that I have. These springs came on these shocks. These are OEM Subaru shocks. And actually, let me show you guys a little comparison of these OEM Subaru shocks, struts, compared to these Bilsteins. Okay? Basically, well, these are the fronts. So don't worry about that. That's the rear. So we're comparing front to front now. Look at these comparisons. Front to front. Okay? Front strut, OEM Subaru strut, Bilstein strut. Look at the thickness. Here, I'll scoot over so you can see a little better. Look at the comparison of the thickness of these Subaru struts versus these Bilstein struts. And look at the collar right here where it has a seal. And basically, the way this seals to this much, much bigger diameter strut body tower right here, it's a much more robust seal. And then look at the thickness of this collar that's kind of machined versus the Subaru, which is just stamped and machine welded. So, I mean, comparing the two, there's obviously a huge, huge, huge difference in the design and the function, the quality. And all four of these Bilstein struts had really good pressure in them still. I don't know how old they were. You look at them you look at them kind of closely, you can see these suckers are really not very bad condition at all. So I don't think they're very old. And they all have really great charge in them. And these are really nice silver powder coat as well. So these Bilstein struts are fucking awesome, frankly. And you can just see, comparing the two, how much more thicker they are and how much more robust a shock body they are. I don't know any of the specs on those. Many of you guys know the specs on these Bilstein shocks and struts and why these Bilstein struts outperform these things. I mean, the OEM Subaru ones, let me know. Obviously, you can see in the design how much better they are, though, just taking a peek at them. So, and interestingly enough, I'll tell you guys another little side. Well, let me get here in the shade here. Another little thing I'll mention, guys, is that when you buy parts from the pick apart, you can actually return them within 30 days. So I'm gonna mix and match the coils and return these struts, these Subaru struts, with the coils I don't need. That way I can get my full refund for these coils. Well, actually it's not a refund, it's store credit. Because all these Subaru shocks are blown for sure. That's another thing I mentioned in the video last week, because I almost never buy used struts, because you almost always find used struts are gonna have at least one of those blown. So all 4 of these Subaru struts are blown. All 4 of the Bilstein struts have really good charge in them. So I'm gonna take the coils off these, use those 2000 RS coils on the Bilstein struts. These Bilstein struts actually had really nice boot covers too. Clean these up a little bit. So I'll just reassemble everything. I got the hardware soaking right now, and I'll reassemble everything with, you know, hardware all de-rusted, de-oiled, and I'll spray a kind of little rust prevention lubricant on it, all the hardware, and we'll reassemble these suckers. And these struts are gonna go on to that hatchback, the new one, the 97. Incidentally, speaking of that, let's do a little update on that. So these are my 2 cars. I got the 98 RS, which a lot of you guys know. I did an interior restoration on that recently. And now I got this 97 RS, well, not RS, 97 coupe. They didn't have RS's 97. 98 was the first year RS. And they only had coupes, incidentally. So I bought a 97 Impreza L coupe base model. I'm getting here in the garage. And this is it. And I've been picking up parts for it because I'm getting ready for the paint shop. So basically, you're gonna meet this guy. Basically, met a guy who has a paint shop, who's a professional painter. He's been in business for 15 years. He's actually a shop foreman from one of the big local paint shops. He's got a whole setup at his home paint booth. And he's gonna help me basically work on his car. We're gonna paint it. He's gonna be in the video. You're gonna meet him, stuff like that. So this is one of the things I got during the week. I picked up a green hood. Obviously, I'm gonna paint the car, so I didn't really need it to be green, but it's nice to have the green, and you can kind of see it's pretty good condition. There is a little dent on the bottom a little bit right down there that I think you can get out, but picked up a hood. So I got the hood. Hood's gonna go on this. As far as the bumper, pretty sure I'm gonna go ahead and use this factory 2.5 RS. This is a more modern bumper. Basically, there's the earlier style bumper and later style bumper. This is a later style one. It only has the 2 splits right here. And with those yellow big fog lights, it's gonna look really good with the green. So basically, gonna use that RS bumper with the RS hood. Gonna respray the whole car green. I got an RS spoiler coming. If that guy's watching, please make sure you send that thing in the mail soon. I know you said you're gonna try to get in this weekend, but waiting on that RS spoiler, and then I'll have all the body panels for this car. And actually, I got some side skirts coming too. So basically, repainting this car in green with the spoiler, the side skirts, the hood, the RS front bumper, and maybe even get some rear bumper spats. And then as far as the interior, I'm gonna change the interior from this tan to the gray. And let me show you guys exactly what I'm thinking about for that. And obviously I got the gold RS wheels here as well. It'll go good with the green once the car is all painted green. Okay. What you're looking at here is obviously a pre-facelift interior. For those guys who don't know, there's 2 different style interiors on these cars. There's a pre-facelift, which is 1993 through 97. And then there's a facelift, which is 98 through 2001. And a couple different interiors for that facelift, but basically the RS is the only one with a black interior, fully black. This is just an Impreza L. This is pre-facelift. Like I said, it's a budget base model L. It's an automatic. I'm switching this out for a 5-speed or maybe a BRZ 6-speed. Stay tuned on that, not sure yet. Like I said, it also has like no power anything, no power windows, got manual windows. Doesn't even have power side view mirrors. It doesn't have ABS, doesn't have cruise control. It's got nothing. Even the tach You can see it doesn't even have a tack in it. These early Impreza gauge clusters only have basically a speedometer. It doesn't even have a tack on the side for the automatics. So it's super duper duper budget. And I'm gonna be swapping out the entire interior of this car for the gray style interior. And one thing I'll mention is that this one is 97. You can see this dash actually has an airbag right there. There's an airbag on the passenger side, and there's an airbag in the steering wheel right here. So this is an airbag pre-facelift dash. There's a different style dash, guys, and I didn't even realize this for a long time, but there's actually two different style pre-facelift dashes. There's the one that was actually originally designed, which didn't have airbags, and they actually adapted airbags to the pre-facelift interior to comply with federal guideline and regulations. So basically, the designers of the initial Impreza for the pre-facelift interior were never designed the interior to include airbags. And those dashes look like this dash. This is a pre-facelift dash before airbags were required. And this is actually the original design that the designers from Subaru actually had in mind for the interior of these cars. And I think it's a much, much nicer design and a much better dash layout. It basically gives you this flat kind of tray kind of feel, really kind of classic of like the 60s, 70s, and 80s cars had that flat kind of tray dash rather than the big bulbous dash that this one is. So take a good look at this dash. It's also different over here. It comes down deeper over here, which basically means that the surround for the gauge cluster actually sticks out further from the two sides of it. So this surround is actually emphasized or magnified as relative to the height of the dash on each side. It sticks out far further. I'll compare it real fast over here. You can see. Look at how that surround doesn't really raise very high around the gauge clusters. And now on this one, you can see how much it raises. So it really makes a focal point of the dash your two main gauge clusters in the middle right here. And then over here, it just stays really low and has this like low tray style thing with this like little lip right here almost. And you don't have any of this lip right here with the airbag. Basically, I'll snip over here in the car. So now, when you design the airbag and they had to adapt the airbag to the interior of these facelift cars or pre-facelift, this airbag is this big hump right here that takes up the whole space of the dash. Totally different. It's definitely not what was originally designed for these cars by the interior designers. So I think this dash is way, way, way cooler, way cleaner, way more kind of vintage 90s feel. And I'm planning on installing this dash into this coupe because this basically is going to be my dream build. Green, RS, even though they didn't have an RS in 98 or 97, this one's going to be kind of looking like an RS with a manual transmission swap, fresh paint and body, fresh gray interior swap with the early style original pre-facelift dash. And I have all the other components as well in my back shop to really do a full gray swap for the interior of this car. So it's gonna be dope. Really looking forward to it. So that's basically up there. And actually, let me show you the interior, the engine bay. I don't think I show you guys that very closely in that. Sorry for the close up there. The interior is what I worked on for the first week of this car, where I just kind of gathered my thoughts and figuring out what the hell my plan was going to be. Let me see if I can do this with the camera. Sorry, looking at my washing machine right now. All right, let me get some light on the subject here. That's all I got with that. Is this one plugged in? There we go. Okay. So, 97. I still got the ghetto wheels on it. Engine bay was super duper dirty when I got it. Power steering pump was leaking. Take a good look at this engine bay now. Do kind of a little slow pan over shot, so you guys can see what this engine bay is looking like now. Basically completely restored and rejuvenate everything in the engine bay. I redid one of the wiring loom pieces for the positive and negative battery terminal to the main fuse panel. Basically, I've removed every component and cleaned every component, and basically provided or applied a rust prevention treatment to all the surface of every nut and bolt and hardware piece here. Then reassembled everything, treated everything, and basically engine bay is looking beautiful right now. But who knows? This is a 2.2 liter. 2.2 liters are really interesting, guys. If you don't know, one of the things that's nice about a 2.2 liter is that the spark plugs are just so damn easy to get to. They're right here at an angle, kind of like a 35-degree angle. They're not straight down in at a kind of a 90-degree angle in there. They're right blocked by the frame rail. spark plugs on these 2.2s are just right up here. So easy to get at. It's ridiculous. It's like the easiest spark plug ever to change on a Subaru engine. So really, really kind of a nice benefit of the 2.2 liter. Anyways, they're also really, really robust and really strong and really durable engines. They're actually known to be one of the best Subaru engines there is. Okay, what else do we got here? That's basically my update on the green car. I'm calling it the green car, even though it's black currently, because it should have been green. It was green originally. It's gonna be green. All right, I got my dog here. You guys want my dog? That's Bailey. What's up, buddy? This is my buddy Bailey. He's deaf, born deaf. And this is my buddy Kobe. What's up, buddy? And they're guard dogs. Kobe's got the eyes and ears, and Bailey's the muscle. So that's what I'm up to, guys. I'm basically installing these struts. Gonna put the new springs from the RS on the struts. Gonna return these RS struts that are bad, that are totally blown, with the springs that are probably on my coupe. I know, Bailey thinks it's playtime. And finishing up my video, got this little air compressor that I use to basically control my little pneumatic spring compressor. I'm gonna do a little video, doing a little video showing this thing. I'm gonna do a video breaking down exactly how this thing works and how I kind of put this whole assembly together. Because as you guys can see what this thing's on a dolly. So this is my little portable setup. So I can lift this thing up on the dolly and roll it over to the corner and either put it inside my shop or leave it outside with a bag over it as kind of like a, you know, waterproof kind of barrier, and basically get this big spring compressor out of the way and stored really easily. So kind of like this thing. This thing is one of the coolest little setups I kind of have for my shop, guys. And if any of you guys ever swapped out springs on a McPherson strut, using those old school like little clamps that you have to torque down are a pain in the ass and are kind of dangerous. So this thing's way more safe. You got a bunch of different safety things like this little locking plate right here, the heavy steel. You know, it's really dope. I really like these old tools. Brannick, here's the model name, guys. Brannick, can't really see it with the main thing, but Brannick right there is the name. This is one of the main commercial manufacturers for spring compressors. There's a part code SSC, what is that, 514. And this thing's old. They use these in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I believe. They haven't made this thing in decades, but it actually works beautifully. It's perfect. And you just, fuck it, I'll connect it right now. I'll show you guys. I can do this one hand. Look, this is how this thing works. All right, we're still here. Put my spring compressor here. Let me just put this thing down for a second. Make sure you don't have a locking pin in. So I have a locking pin right here I can put in. So once I compress the spring, I actually put this locking pin in, and that will lock everything in place. Just in case you lose air pressure, everything's still locked down in place. A nice little double kind of redundancy safety precaution. But the nice thing about using air, guys, is that air, you're not gonna have a major failure in air. Usually air develops a small leak and you lose pressure over kind of a slow linear curve. It's never usually an instantaneous loss of pressure. And that's one of the reasons I like using air for something like this. Because if you're gonna have a loss of air pressure, you're usually gonna hear it and you're gonna see it slowly kind of move on you. But you also wanna use pins like this, things like this, safety precaution pin. So basically what we have here is, everything free, yeah. So basically you'd put your strut in here, obviously. You put this locking little plate over to hide it or to secure it in place in case it pops out. And you just basically push down on the little lever right here and up. Check this out. Let me zoom back so you can see it. Tell me that's not the dopest thing ever. And this thing compresses springs, no pressure, no problem. Yeah, I know. I'll do it all day. Anyways, I got a video coming out with this thing. This thing's awesome. It's my coolest little toy, little invention. Well, the mobility of it is my invention. This thing's been around forever. Okay, that's it for that. We got the RS here. Not a lot of updates on the RS. I got the bumper off. Always take the bumper off, work on this thing. It makes it a lot easier. Those are the GF springs. And I got the JDM engines in here. I've basically been sidetracked on these JDM engines for the RS because I've been picking up these body panels, doing the suspension stuff, working on that 97 coupe, getting things lined up with the body guy. Here's one thing I found though. Earlier in the week, I was at a junkyard and I actually found the raised armrest pre-facelift center console armrest, basically. So this is and little bit more like the 98 to 01 RS, kind of restored the old on the early, really early radios that Subaru put in their cars. So this is an early, kind of an early style radio console setup. This is one of the later style ones they came up with those 6 keys that are kind of a skewed angle in parallel. What do we got here? Yeah, I'm gonna have to make a video on these at some point. Basically, these are basically, for those of you who don't know, I think these are called ground control, if I remember correctly. They use eye-box springs. Sorry. These are basically these little sleeves that slide over your struts, and they kind of lock over the strut body. And then they have these collars that go over that little thing. These little collars thread over this little sleeve, and then the little collars hold an eye-box spring, and you can get these in different spring rates, and you can actually adapt adjustable coilovers to a stock factory strut. That's what these are for. Pretty cool little thing that they came up with. And there's a couple different manufacturers out there doing it. So, okay guys, wrapping up here. Now I'm just fucking going on. That's the video for today. That's my update for the week. I do have a video coming out tomorrow. I should have a video coming out tomorrow. I'm wrapping it up. So check that out tomorrow morning. I'll be posting it. It's a kind of a cool, kind of an interesting little one. I'm gonna leave it for you guys to check out tomorrow. I hope you'll enjoy it. And then take out the video coming out next week or so on this strut compressor machine, and basically getting those struts assembled and put on that 97 GF or GC coupe. All right, well, anyway, guys, I hope you guys have a good weekend. Take it easy. Yeah, awkward goodbye. Later, guys.